Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to talk through Think Again, How to Reason and Argue by Walter Sinnott-Armstrong, published in 2018. This text discusses the various global problems that threaten our world, such as war, terrorism, poverty, inequality, and climate change. It emphasizes the need for widespread cooperation to solve these issues, as no single person or country can address them alone. However, Sinnott-Armstrong highlights the lack of understanding and communication among people with differing beliefs and values, which hinders collaboration. It argues that people often dismiss opposing viewpoints without trying to understand them, resorting to insults and contempt instead. The author suggests that a solution lies in increasing communication and asking for and appreciating reasons and arguments. It emphasizes the importance of understanding each other's perspectives and working together to find solutions. The book discusses the growing polarization and isolation of people in society. Many individuals now have few friends with different political views, live in communities where the majority supports the same political party, and consume news from sources that align with their beliefs. When encountering opposing views, people often resort to emotional appeals, insults, or avoidance rather than engaging in open dialogue. Despite this, skeptics question whether polarization is as widespread as suggested, as there are still individuals with moderate or mixed political views, and some political opponents can still maintain positive relationships. To better understand the depth and breadth of polarization, the writer explores empirical research on polarization, highlighting aspects such as distance, homogeneity, antagonism, incivility, rigidity, and gridlock. The book also touches upon the importance of shared goals and civil discourse in finding common ground and solving problems. In The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, the author discusses the increasing polarization and animosity between political parties and individuals. He highlights how in 2016, majorities in both parties expressed unfavorable views of the other party, and a significant percentage felt that the opposing party's policies threatened the nation's well-being. This polarization extends beyond politics and affects personal relationships and where people choose to live. Haidt also explores how this trend is not unique to the United States, giving examples from other countries. He argues that this polarization is fueled by a lack of understanding and refusal to listen to the other side's reasoning. Haidt suggests that practicing civility, attempting to understand our opponents, and avoiding caricatures and verbal abuse can help bridge the divide. The book explores the impact of making fun of opponents in political discourse. While jokes about opponents may create group solidarity and status for the joker, they impede understanding of opposing views and prevent productive dialogue. Such humor can lead to a downward spiral of discourse, particularly on the internet where anonymity fuels viciousness. The author cites an example of a philosophy professor who received vitriolic racist comments after writing an article. Rhetorical tricks and insults like these hinder constructive exchanges of ideas and contribute to polarization. The writer emphasizes the need for civil discourse and the dangers of incivility, which can attract attention, energize supporters, and stimulate memory, but ultimately undermine the shared society and the ability to find rational solutions to problems. Incivility fuels polarization by silencing reasoning and preventing us from understanding and overcoming our differences. People often avoid conversations about politics with those they disagree with, leading to silence and a lack of understanding. This is exacerbated by the fact that people tend to choose news sources that align with their beliefs, creating echo chambers and further silencing opposing viewpoints. The chapter also highlights the cultural disdain for asking questions and seeking to understand opposing perspectives. The author emphasizes the importance of engaging with opponents and listening to their arguments, even if we disagree. The goal is not to change our positions, but to remain civil, understand opponents, and learn from them. However, the chapter acknowledges that arguments alone cannot solve our problems, and that other virtues, such as modesty and patience, are necessary for productive conversations. Reason and emotion are not mutually exclusive, but rather work together to shape our judgments and decisions. Armstrong argues against the notion that emotions prevent reasoning and emphasizes that emotions often arise from beliefs and reasons. He also highlights the role of reasoning and argument in influencing our beliefs and actions, using examples such as personal conflicts and political decisions. The author further addresses cynicism towards the effectiveness of argumentation, asserting that while arguments may not always immediately persuade everyone, they can gradually and partially change beliefs and actions. Arguments should not be viewed as mere competitions, but rather as opportunities for learning, understanding, and gaining new perspectives. Providing arguments in a conversation or asking for arguments shows respect for one's audience. It signals that you see the relationship as equal and are willing to listen to their perspective. Arguments also foster humility by allowing individuals to recognize that they may be wrong and that there are reasons for opposing views. Asking questions and expecting reasons can induce humility and open-mindedness. Arguments can also undermine polarization by encouraging abstract thinking and reducing extreme positions. Moreover, arguments enable compromises by allowing individuals to understand each other's reasons and work towards a mutually satisfying middle ground. While arguments alone may not solve all the problems, they can help reduce barriers and promote cooperation. Learning how to argue effectively is crucial, as people often make mistakes and are biased by their desires when assessing arguments. The book discusses various ways in which humans often go astray in their thinking and reasoning. It highlights the tendency to engage in wishful thinking and confirmation bias, whereby people seek out information that supports their desired beliefs. The book also discusses the representativeness heuristic, which leads people to judge the likelihood of an event based on how well it fits a certain stereotype. It uses examples such as the Watson selection task and the argument clinic skit from Monty Python to illustrate these cognitive biases and errors in reasoning. However, the author also suggests that reasoning and argumentation skills can be improved through training, practice, and the creation of institutions that correct mistakes. An argument is a series of connected premises that provide a reason for a conclusion. Arguments are made up of language and can take the form of declarative sentences that are either true or false. They serve the purpose of presenting reasons and differ from abuse, fights, and denial. Arguments can justify beliefs or actions, explain phenomena, or persuade. Special words such as so and because can signal when an argument is being given. However, argument markers don't always indicate the presence of an argument, and context and meaning must be considered. Arguments can continue indefinitely due to the need for premises to be justified by further arguments. The challenge of justifying beliefs and how it relates to philosophical skepticism is discussed. The author explores the concept of an infinite regress of reasons and argues that skeptics demand too much in terms of justification. He suggests that arguments can still achieve practical goals by appealing to premises that some people may reject but most people accept, aiming at the middle third of an audience. The book also introduces the idea of regress stoppers, such as guarding, assuring, evaluating, and discounting terms, which help to address objections and make arguments stronger. The author applies these concepts to a political example, highlighting the importance of clearly defined premises and avoiding vague language. Different strategies that people use to stop arguments and objections are explored by the author. One strategy is to use assurance or assuring terms, like saying, "I assure you," to prevent objections without providing specific evidence or reasons for a claim. Another strategy is to use evaluative language, such as calling something good or bad, to stop arguments by appealing to relevant standards without explicitly defining them. Armstrong also discusses discounting, which involves raising objections to your own position before others can, allowing you to control the objection's formulation and discount its importance. These strategies can be effective in halting arguments and avoiding further scrutiny, but they can also be misused and hinder productive discussion and understanding. Discounting terms such as but, although, and admittedly suggest that one claim is more important than the other. The placement of these claims in a sentence reveals the speaker's priorities. Arguers often use discounting terms to protect and support their premises, which can stop an argument. How words work together in arguments, including argument markers and guarding, assuring, evaluating, and discounting terms, is explored. The goal of close analysis is to identify these words and understand their role in the argument. The book provides an example from an advertisement for fair trade coffee to illustrate the analysis process. Deep analysis is a method of analyzing arguments by arranging the premises and conclusions into a logical order and inserting additional unstated premises. Validity in philosophical terms refers to the relation between the premises and conclusion of an argument. An argument is valid when it is not possible for all of its premises to be true and its conclusion to be false. The validity of an argument is determined by the possibility of a combination of true premises and a false conclusion. Some arguments with true premises and a true conclusion are not valid, while some valid arguments have false premises and a false conclusion. Validity can be assessed by imagining or describing a situation where the premises are true and the conclusion is false. Deep analysis and argument reconstruction involve using these techniques to understand and assess the structure and validity of arguments. Valid argument forms such as modus ponens and modus tollens are presented, and examples of both valid and invalid argument forms are given. It is explained that soundness is important in addition to validity, as a sound argument is one that is both valid and has all true premises. The author also introduces the idea of suppressed premises, or assumptions that are not explicitly stated but are necessary to make an argument valid. The importance of filling out suppressed premises in order to understand an argument better and avoid being misled is emphasized. The author explores the need to rethink urban management and development, specifically the inclusion of urban villages in mainstream policies and programs. The argument is presented as a series of premises and conclusions, with suppressed premises playing a crucial role in making the arguments valid. He discusses the structure of the arguments, the clarity of its premises, and the need for additional supporting arguments to strengthen the overall case. Additionally, Armstrong identifies two separate arguments within a short sentence, one explaining the rapid rise of urban villages due to increased poverty and negative impacts of climate change. He analyzes the relationship between poverty, climate change, and the rise of urban villages as an example. They explain that poverty and climate change are factors that contribute to the increase in urban villages. He reconstructs the arguments to make them valid and identifies suppressed premises, highlighting the importance of intention in determining whether an argument is deductive or inductive. The validity of deductive arguments does not guarantee truth or certainty, as the premises may still be false. The author cautions against assuming that deduction is superior to induction, as both have their limitations. They emphasize the need to evaluate arguments based on their intended purpose and the standards of justification and truth. Armstrong explores the concept of inductive arguments and the different ways in which they are used. He discusses how inductive arguments aim for strength rather than validity, and how strength can be understood as probability. Examples of various forms of inductive arguments are provided, such as statistical generalizations, statistical applications, inference to the best explanation, argument from analogy, causal reasoning, and reasoning about probability. It emphasizes the importance of understanding the limitations and potential biases of these arguments and highlights the need for careful assessment of the premises and their truthfulness. Overall, the author illustrates the complexity of inductive arguments and the challenges of using them effectively. Armstrong discusses the importance of evaluating the trustworthiness of people on online dating sites. He emphasizes the need for a large, unbiased sample in order to make accurate generalizations. He highlights various factors that can bias a sample, such as the demographics of the individuals being sampled, leading or misleading questions, and personal profiles affecting the results. He also explores the concept of inference to the best explanation, which is commonly used to understand phenomena, make decisions, and solve problems. The author explains the structure of this type of argument and highlights the potential flaws that can arise in each premise. Overall, he emphasizes the importance of critical thinking in making inductive generalizations and drawing conclusions. Next, Armstrong discusses fallacies in arguments, focusing on the issues of vagueness and ambiguity in language. He gives examples of how these defects can affect the validity of an argument, such as when different meanings of a word are used in different premises, leading to a false or weak conclusion. He also highlights the fallacy of equivocation, where the same term is used with different meanings in an argument. One example of how these fallacies can be seen in real-world arguments is provided, like the argument that homosexuality is immoral because it is unnatural. Homosexuals and their allies can respond to the argument in a few ways. They can counter the claim that the only purpose of sex organs is for procreation by highlighting that sex can also bring pleasure and express love, not just for heterosexuals, but also for homosexuals. They can argue that using bodily organs for purposes other than their evolved functions is not inherently immoral, using the analogy of wearing earrings. Additionally, they can challenge the premise that homosexuality is contrary to God's plan by pointing out that not everyone subscribes to those religious beliefs. Overall, the argument suffers from ambiguity and equivocation, and it requires further clarification and justification to hold any force. The book argues against the use of ad hominem arguments, which are fallacies that attack a person's character or personal attributes in an attempt to undermine their argument. The author discusses how negative emotions, such as disgust or contempt, can lead people to distrust or dismiss others based on their appearance or personal qualities. Ad hominem fallacies can be used to exclude the views of dissident groups, deprive ex-felons of their voting rights, and undermine the credibility of rape victims. Armstrong also explores the positive tendency to trust people we like or admire, known as the halo effect, and the tendency to distrust people we dislike, known as the horn effect. He provides guidelines for evaluating appeals to authority, including checking for accuracy, considering the authority's trustworthiness, verifying their expertise in the relevant field, examining agreement among experts, and questioning the motives behind the appeal. The importance of critical evaluation and avoiding ad hominem fallacies is emphasized in order to reduce personal errors and societal polarization. Armstrong explores the use of appeals to authority as an argument in the context of climate change. He examines whether the IPCC, an authority on climate change, can be trusted, and if their conclusions are supported by experts in the field. He concludes that appealing to the authority of the IPCC is a strong argument because they have the qualifications, expertise, and agreement among experts to support their claims. However, he cautions that appealing to the authority of the IPCC on policy decisions may not be as valid, as climate scientists may lack expertise in areas outside of science. The author emphasizes the importance of asking critical questions and seeking independent justification when evaluating appeals to authority. He also discusses the fallacy of begging the question and the need for careful analysis and charitable interpretation of arguments before accusing them of fallacies. Overall, the author emphasizes the importance of refuting arguments with adequate reasons to doubt rather than simply denying or contradicting them. Armstrong discusses different ways to refute an argument and highlight the limitations and inconclusive nature of these refutations. The first method is to cast doubt on the premises of the argument by providing counterexamples or finding fallacies in the strongest argument for those premises. However, counterexamples only raise doubt and do not necessarily disprove the conclusion. The second method is to show that the conclusion is false, which indicates that something went wrong in the argument. This can be achieved through reductio ad absurdum, reducing the conclusion to absurdity. However, this type of refutation may attack a straw man if it misinterprets the original argument. Lastly, refutations can target the relationship between premises and conclusions, highlighting defects such as equivocation, ad hominem, appeals to authority, and begging the question fallacies. Assessing validity or constructing parallel arguments can help identify defects in the relation between premises and the conclusion. However, these refutations do not prove the opposite. They simply cast doubt on the original argument. The author concludes by providing some final thoughts and advice on the importance of arguments and how to engage in them effectively. He emphasized the need to admit our limits and continue learning about various aspects related to arguments, such as language, science, mathematics, and philosophy. He also encourages readers to practice analyzing and evaluating arguments, both their own and others, and to engage in respectful and civil discussions with people who may have different viewpoints. Additionally, he stresses the importance of constructing well-reasoned arguments and actively teaching others about the skills of argumentation. While it may not be possible to always follow these rules in every situation, the author suggests that adopting these principles more frequently could greatly benefit our ability to engage in productive and meaningful discourse. Thank you so much for watching this video. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'll see you in the next video.